Alright, hello everyone and welcome to game number 1 between mmogog and AdeptX7 in our Offworld Trading Company third tournament, round of 16. Now, these are a couple of players that I have not seen a whole lot of for the most part, especially AdeptX7. mmogog pops up occasionally, kind of get an idea of what they're doing, but AdeptX7 I don't think I have literally ever seen in a game. So I don't really know what to expect here. I do want to point out immediately that this map is actually different from the previous maps we've been looking at today. Still kind of a fair amount of aluminum and iron going on. It's definitely a usable quantity, but a lot more carbon spread around, even if most of it is low. And then no silicon whatsoever. I mean, seriously, it's 3 silicon tiles, guys. There's none of that going on. And even though there is a fair amount of water, most of it's kind of in that one patch right near the neutral colony. So it'll be interesting seeing these two players fight over it. I do like the robotic decision. I also kind of like the idea of founding just barely second. Like, being willing to do that is fantastic. I always love that just barely second found if you're confident enough to go ahead and do it. I do want to see mmogog sell out of these electronics and try and push for a very fast expansion. I would very much like to see that for sure, because that would allow you to secure like this all-important high water tile, all kinds of like small little edges you can get from a very fast expansion. AdeptX7 is running just a little bit further behind. In terms of that expansion, we can see that they've gone very, very heavily into iron and tanked that price almost instantly. Might need to turn one of these mines into a steel mill for just a moment in order to easily go ahead and push up to that HQ level 2. They also were forced to take an aluminum mine very far away from their headquarters, and because of that, kind of created a situation where they're off to a very, very slow and kind of sluggish start. Still stuck behind on HQ level 2. But we did see a slightly slow robotic start as well, so maybe it's just not the end of the world at this point. mmogog is out of claims. Looks like has committed 1 to a geotherm, and the others, oh wow, 2 to geotherms, and then just a couple more on over to those steel mills. But still, maybe set up in a good enough position, especially with this iron price as low as it is. Probably gonna be okay from here. It's not necessarily ideal having 2 blank tiles at this point, but might be able to get away with it. $28,000 for that auction. That is a lot of debt already this game. Definitely something to be aware of. Just going to use that to grab up another iron mine. Get a little bit more adjacency going. Not necessarily a bad idea, although iron is down at $1. I think I really would have liked to see that committed to this high water tile. This is just so important this game, I think. It is the only really good water tile that's even in this area. We do see a geotherm already coming out for mmogog, so committing a lot of steel over to this geotherm. I wonder if they're going to take this one as well. And that is just a lot of steel sunk into a not particularly valuable resource at this stage of the game. AdeptX7 does finally manage to push to enough steel that they can upgrade. Gonna go ahead and take that high water tile, which I definitely agree with, and get some steel mills down. And that leaves AdeptX7 in a surprisingly good spot despite their slow start. They have the very valuable water tile, and they have this very valuable steel because mmogog hasn't been selling steel. They've been using steel, potentially even buying just a little bit of steel in order to get these geotherms online. And so AdeptX7 really didn't lose nearly as much momentum from lagging behind as might have been expected. I love this EMP pickup, no matter which player it is. I love going after the opponent's steel at the start of the game. I think that's a very important play right now, with steel still up at $65 a piece and iron at 3. Look how much money these guys are making. That is absolutely insane. The return power surge, absolutely excellent. Now everybody is stuck doing nothing for just a little while here. There's not much more to talk about. We can take a quick little look around the map again. Nobody's bothered to secure the silicon just yet. And we never really covered black market so far this game, so why don't we have a look at that while there's this low action going on from nobody really doing anything of note. There are holograms and spies available this game, no extra claims. Filthy Pirates, EMP Power Surge, both of which we've already seen utilized. Network Viruses, once again, potentially very powerful in a 1v1 situation. Dynamite and Goon Squads are all available. So a nice little mix, a good mix, I think, of black market. Very usable for either player. And AdeptX7, actually, bit of a bold move here. I like it. Gonna scrap out his iron. He's just gonna move that over into steel as well. Says, look, I just need my steel, guys. I just want it. I just want it right now. And an adrenaline boost auction is gonna pop up. All right. We can see how that goes. It is worth noting that even though AdeptX7 did manage to take out, while they bid on this guy, all of the steel mills with that power surge, he got a little unlucky in the bounces, which is his own fault. He kind of started it in this corner instead of this corner. So the bounces hit for almost as little, the base almost as little as they could have on the steel mills and still take them out, right? So 2 of those are coming back online momentarily, and then that last one will still be frozen for, of course, that full duration. Also worth noting, I really do like power surges for smaller groups of buildings. If mmogog had just picked up a power surge instead of that EMP, likely would have been in a much better spot. And AdeptX7 immediately, once again, just EMP. As soon as a couple of those are starting to fade, it's like, no, seriously, you're not allowed to make steel, cut it out. And mmogog is just sitting on nothing at this point. Did pick up a Goon Squad, but it's far too late. Maybe instead of that initial EMP, a Goon Squad could have gone down here, and we'd be looking at a very different game at this point. But right now, AdeptX7 is in a terrifyingly strong position. He is up on upgrades as an expansive player against a Robotic. Has great production down in the moment. Pretty easy to transition out of it as well, given that it's just simply steel mills. And I think mmogog, this is why I didn't like the geotherm play. First of all, we can see power's worth nothing. Power's making no money because of all the debt going on, even if it weren't worth nothing. And then on top of that, this is 240 steel sitting here. 240 steel. Imagine if that 240 steel was here. Like, seriously, that's an entire upgrade that you've committed to. Easily, an entire upgrade you've committed to. Like, all of the resources, the steel and the aluminum and the electronics value, basically, to put these geotherms down, right? Maybe even more. And they're doing nothing. They're literally sitting around doing nothing this game. You really got to be careful about using these geotherms as a Robotic player. They are just so expensive. AdeptX7 has gone into food. Maybe a bit of a misstep with the dust storm coming, but likely shouldn't get punished too hard. I mean, those would have been fine as glass furnaces. Those would have been fine as reactors. Obviously, food is worth quite a bit of money, and actually maybe lucked out just a bit, I think, as he got those farms put up, and then immediately there was a food shortage, like right afterward. So that definitely played into his favor. Even with this dust storm, these guys are making $33 a piece. That is not too bad, all things considered. mmogog was trying to catch back up with that adrenaline boost they picked up earlier, however. An EMP comes on down and kind of rains on that parade, unfortunately. Even so, the boosted steel mill, it's 1.8 steel a second. Not too bad, but could be a lot better. Cold fusion, maybe not a whole lot of value right now. It's okay. Love cold fusion in bigger games. In these smaller games, though, it can be a little bit harder to get some good value out of. I mean, power's already down at like $20, $19, and it's just rapidly falling and falling and falling. 20,000 though is what that's going to end up going over to AdeptX7 for. Not necessarily unreasonable. And AdeptX7, he is in a position where he's probably going to sit back on this steel. He's back into the metal mines for the time being, just making sure that iron, things don't get too funny on him. He's got the food, which is not doing a lot, but is at least something. He's already secured the glass he needs to upgrade. And he will be heading to HQ level 4 very, very soon, whereas mmogog is still sitting on, like, no resources whatsoever. Just nothing. Constantly frozen, not able to push far enough ahead. Did go ahead and blow up AdeptX7's Geo, but I don't know how much work that's actually getting done because power's worth absolutely nothing right now. Steel is only up at $41, and AdeptX7 can just choose, why would I repair it? Power's $7, you know? You have to question why he even built it in the first place if power was going to be that low, but He just doesn't seem to be bothering. He doesn't care. Maybe he didn't notice, but in this case, he's definitely not going to get punished, even if that's the case. This dust storm is hurting him. That's for sure. He has secured plenty of water for the plays that he's making, maybe even a little overboard on water, but that shouldn't hurt him too badly, because he does have, you know, he does have these farms up, and he does have these reactors up, so even with his excess of water, it's probably not going to hurt him too badly, and playing it safe like that is not the end of the world when you've already got such a fantastic lead in your favor. mmogog is going to be struggling too with these constant black market attacks that haven't been particularly effective, and this goon squad that only kind of like barely worked is struggling, you can tell, to get those electronics secured that they need in order to get to that HQ level 4, and it hurts so bad when you're running behind as a robot. There was a power surge onto food, and I don't mind that too much. It is a lot of money taken away from your opponent, but you still have to be nervous about the fact that you are just not making money right now. And even with this food frozen, AdeptX7 being ahead on upgrades still has these reactors running. So that's still $140 a second there. The water pumps are going to come back to hurt him, I think. This extra claim could have been committed to a reactor right now, and he'd be in a much better spot. With this food frozen, there's just nothing for him to do with this water. So that's definitely a concern. It could have gone into glass furnaces instead, as stated before, instead of all this water. But it's still not the end of the world for him, as when you're ahead on upgrades, you can definitely, as an expansive player, you can definitely get away with stuff like that more easily. I do like mmogog being aggressive on taking this claim, $28,000. I think that's actually a very reasonable decision, considering the horrible spot that they have put themselves in. On the other hand, it's being used for another geotherm. And I don't think another geotherm is necessary at this point, even if it is a single claim, and it can be difficult to figure out what to do with a single claim. A geotherm, when power's worth $11 and you have 93,000 debt, is just not where to put it. Chem labs could work out okay. Farms are still fantastic because these have been constantly frozen with that shortage and the dust storm earlier. Farms would be absolutely fantastic. Glass furnaces are absolutely fantastic money. And AdeptX7 has kind of spotted these things, is getting into the strong money this game, is going into another steel mill, I imagine, just from a plan of, well, I eventually want to build an Offworld, right? And so that's fine, I think. That should work out okay, even if steel isn't too great right now. Maybe it could have just been a reactor instead. Reactors are pretty cool right now. Glass furnaces are pretty cool right now, but it's not the end of the world necessarily to be overproducing that steel resource. mmogog has gone for the very, very standard, I want to make electronics because I am robotic play. Those are instantly going to be frozen. It almost didn't matter what building mmogog had selected, because it was just going to get frozen. Like, it was just going to get frozen. EMP, good play, generally. Just stop them from making that food money. But this is the thing. I would have loved to see them cut in, like get rid of these mines, and just move into food themselves to kind of just like grab up that food money while the opponent wasn't making it. They're doing a good job of like trying to fight their opponent and keep them knocked down, but there's just not enough money being made on mmogog's side to keep this up. And AdeptX7, it's a different story. Even if he's had his primary source of production, this food, knocked out consistently, he's always had these little side projects going on just because he's been ahead on upgrades. And those are going fantastically for him. He is choosing to commit entirely into this Offworld. I don't think that's even remotely necessary this game, if I'm going to be honest, but it is certainly the safe way to play. When the Offworld comes on down, where did he put that last claim? Did he seriously take more water? That might be excessive, guys. That might have been a little bit excessive. On the other hand, he's only sitting at plus 0.0, or yeah, plus 0.3 water right now because he's got 7 water being consumed a second here? That's weird. Oh no, it's because of cold fusion. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. I think that's excessive. But still, despite that, it's a little bit ridiculous over here. The Offworld is down. You've got an Offworld market that's probably going to be finished before your opponent even manages to push to HQ level 5, and you can be pretty sure you're going to win that one. Spy is down. Spy sees the Offworld. But what are you going to do about it? It's goon squatted. You got dynamite you can throw at it. But you can't afford the black market right now. You got to upgrade. You got to keep making that money. That's so important. The upgrade does come through. That is HQ level 5. But once again, you're up against an expansive player. Their upgrades are just plain better. You can't be running behind. In those circumstances, food is finally starting to actually make money for AdeptX7. He's just going to go into another Offworld. He's just like, fine, whatever. I can just make more stuff. And normally I would say this is a terrible play that can end up with you losing the game. But I think he's so far ahead, it just doesn't matter all that much, honestly. It'll take something really, really serious for him to manage to throw this game in this current situation. Especially, though, he can kind of get away with it because his opponent just upgraded, just committed all their resources into that. You know they don't have anything left in the tank at that point to really threaten your stock. So you can get away with just dumping a huge pile of cash into the furnace for a good 2 minutes while you wait for this Offworld to get constructed and start getting launches out before you have to worry too much. You can see he's now secured 5 of his own stock. No danger of mmogog slipping in and just getting him with that majority buyout. That's hugely important. And I don't know. I feel like, you know, it's not over till it's over, but I think I can hear the fat lady, guys.
New patent up for auction.
All right, nanotech auction is going to get in the way of things. I would love for AdeptX7 just to pick this up because it gives him even greater reach when he wants to push for the kill. I think that could be just fine for him. The electronics factories are starting to make decent money now. The farms are starting to fall off, and they will rapidly deteriorate, which is going to potentially require a transition, but the glass is still going. Ooh, got the hit on the Offworld. That'll be a spy doing work for you. No question about that. Good hit on the Offworld. The Goon Squad is back in place now, having just been replaced, but yeah. That spy doing work. That's the kind of move that can start to pull you back in the game. I wonder if it's going to be just too little too late, and still, once again, it all just comes back to these geotherms. They have been sitting around doing literally nothing all game long. You always have to be concerned when you've got a building in that position. mmogog actually has the resources, if they wanted to plant an Offworld, and that is what they're going to do. Trying to find some way to come back into the game, but let's be honest, guys, that's 2 Offworlds launching. Even if one of them got knocked out with dynamite, which really probably shouldn't have happened, that is the danger for going for 2 Offworlds. Suddenly you're vulnerable in 2 spots. And your opponent can keep an eye on that, but I still worry that it's just too little too late. Like, you're committing a Goon Squad to this, so that's an entire attack cycle that you don't have off of your black market onto these guys. That basically guarantees these are going to get another, what, 4 launches off? Effectively at this point, after the black market cycles down, then the defended cycles down, and that should easily be enough to go ahead and clean up the game. AdeptX7, what, selling out of himself in order to push to enough money? He definitely has it at this point. mmogog would need to defend themselves by buying up all of their stock right now in order not suffer from the majority buyout. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this game's going to end in just a moment. And AdeptX7 is going to take game number 1. No big surprise. It's those geos. That was too much money. We saw how AdeptX7 was like, it was multiple factors in there that make that a bad decision. First of all, we can see power almost never sold any of it because you just started knocking it down too early, right? Like, it started getting knocked down when power was at, what, $60, something like that? And then you just start dumping power into the market. It's never going to recover from that when geotherms are what are being used to accomplish this. I don't think this ever got repaired because it just never mattered. This never even got taken because it just never mattered, you know? It's like power was just so inconsequential. Maybe this did get taken. Oh yeah, this never got constructed, despite the fact that an extra claim was committed here. This never got constructed by mmogog. And it never would have done anything even if it had, honestly. And then eventually, like, water had to be taken up here, which was low and bad. That's not a situation you want to be in. It could have been taken down here, but I really think that if at HQ level 2, mmogog had committed to water, instead of even just like the second geotherm, just like one water tile, or hadn't committed to this iron tile, which did basically nothing, and had committed to water instead, I think we would have been looking at a very different game, because the thing that mmogog seemed to handle a lot better in some ways was potentially playing around those off-worlds. It's just when your opponent has that much of a lead, how are you going to fight back, you know? You just can't do it. Not if they beat you to an off-world before you've hit level 5. But still, a good effort. Let's see if anything different can happen in game number 2.